Hello. It is my pleasure to welcome you to another edition of Your Image. Last week we started a conversation on the subject of disaster management and public relations. We succeeded in anchoring the program on the fact that there is a lot of need for us to improve on the way we manage disaster in this country, especially looking at the question of management of information. This week, we want to extend the frontiers and then look at how best can we, what are those shortcomings that we have? How do we improve on our shortcomings? How do we make disaster communication a matter of interest to you and I in such a way that we will be able to reduce the shocks that really accompany the disaster? Well, to continue the conversation this week, we have been enlarged by one. Last week, we had two distinguished guests. This week, we are three. We have been joined by the Zonal Public Relations Officer of the NSDC, Mr. Larry Karim. Larry, it's a pleasure to welcome you.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much.
Of course, the two gentlemen and the lady that were with me last week are also back this week again. First is Florence Okwe, the Route Commander, as well as Public Education Officer of Road Safety. Florence, thank you for coming for the second week running.
You're welcome, sir.
And also we have the man in white, which is a symbol of peace, and the Red Cross symbolizes peace. We have the National Training Ambassador, Comrade Yinka Fashina. Comrade, it's a pleasure to
Thank you very much.
well, ladies and gentlemen, last week we started on the issue of looking at disaster management and how we can improve the population side of it. Of course, we laid the basis that the disaster sometimes can occur, which were natural, sometimes can also be caused by the activities of man. Well, this week we are going to look at the subject of how do we improve on management of the information. So let me start with the comrade, because on almost regular basis the Red Cross gets involved in and the question is, you talked so much last week about planning, about preparing for it. And my first question would be, do we really even have a kind of disaster plan in Nigeria?
We have a disaster plan in Nigeria, anchored by NEMA, and we have in each state, anchored by the State Emergency Management Agency, and each organizations like NSDC, Road Safety, Red Cross, they have their own disaster also plan, because each of these organizations have their specific role. You cannot tell Red Cross, when disaster happens, you cannot tell Red Cross to come and clear the road or something like that. Okay. We take care of the victims. You understand me? Like Road Safety, they have their specific, this have their specific. But all these organizations are embodied in this segment that have the plan. For instance, in Ogun State here, we have emergency response plan, development plan in Ogun State, anchored by SEMA.
I'm curious. You said we have emergency response plan in Ogun State.
In Ogun State.
Would you by chance know at least the key elements of this emergency response plan for
yes, the emergency response plan for Ogun State here, you know, because I happen to be a member of that body, okay, where we have the ecology survey all over the places, environment, hazard areas, and so on and so forth. Where we have our own problem here is implementation. We have it, and enlightenment, and for people to know that we have this plan. You know, we have been bothering about this edict, or what do you call it, to be passed by the bill by this. For instance, Osun has passed the bill, Ondo State has passed the bill, every other state has passed the bill. But if this state also can just pass the bill, or if they have passed the bill, let us have it being implemented. Let all other organizations know about it. Let the public know about it. You understand me?
All right.
They know about
but let's move a bit. As important as the deal is, the question is the level of preparedness of each organization. And I suppose that FRSC, NSDC, you all get involved in it, just like Comrade said. Now, for Florence, if you take the FRSC, at the point of disaster, what is the first thing that occurs to FRSC to do?
The first thing that occurs to them is traffic diversion.
Okay.
Enlighten the motoring public. We go on air to inform them what is happening and also divert traffic so that others will not run into the scene. That is the first thing we do. And in a case of a crash, there is what we call scene management. We cone the area, also divert traffic. But in a situation where if we can divert the traffic, we divert. But if there is no any other route, an alternative route, we just put the traffic on a hold. Then until the scene is being cleared and the obstruction too being cleared off the road before we can allow them to continue. So the scene management, we have a team. We have the rescue team standby 24 hours. So that is why we always tell people of our toll-free number 122. If there's any crash,
does it work?
It works. It works.
122.
122. You can dial it now. It worked very well. The moment you dial that number 122, there will be a response, and it's 5-minute response whenever a crash happens. 5 minutes.
From whatever base you are to the accident spot, it should take 5 minutes.
So I just take example from the corridor command, from the express, Lagos Ibadan Express. There's Mowe there, there's Ibafo, there's Ogumakin, Ogere, and Shagamu. And the ambulance is being stationed for any call for them to respond. And we have medical emergency center too. There's even one here at Shagamu interchange. There's one at Lagos there, just at the beginning of that is
almost at the toll gate.
Toll gate, yes. There's one there. So the moment it happened and you call this call center, immediately there will be response, quick response for the rescue.
Well, I think this is pretty. It's sometimes for somebody like me, it's also news that you have the 122 and it responds.
122, you can just dial it now. You will see that somebody will pick it and they will ask you. As far as you're able to give them the location, the direction of where it happened, they would, if the place, or they would just call the nearest command to that place. They will respond immediately.
Thank you very much. But of course, let me just look to Larry, and then you are always dealing with the human side. If they deal with the cars, you deal with
yes.
as far as
NSCDC is concerned, wherever disaster happens, you know, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps divisions and posts is all over the federation in the 774 local governments. So in that wise, that makes us closer to wherever anything is happening. You discover that whenever there's any call or something of that nature, it comes to the headquarters. But when it goes to the headquarters, because we are rest assured that there is somebody at any point in time at that particular, very close to that particular scene, talking of the local government, SCDA, you understand? So we get the message across to them and they start working on it before we mobilize to add more to the number of those people that are there. And we will have heard exactly what is on ground, what actually happened, and all those information that is needed before we mobilize to that place, so that necessary tools that needed to be used there, so we can take them along. However, when we get to that particular place where disaster happens, you know, NSCDC majorly control crowd, so that those people inside will be able to do their work without intervention. So that we control crowd, we put anybody that does not have essential thing to do with that disaster that happened, we push them off. So that in case if there's any explosion or something of that nature, it will not affect more people. So we handle this professionally to ensure that this area of disaster is safeguarded, so that those people, and apart from that, wherever you have a disaster happening, unfortunately in Nigeria here, you see at so many places, you still see all these hoodlums who may want that,
take advantage of,
of that, and take something, you know, do a lot of things. As a matter of fact, they want to take up, you know, pretending as if
they are rendering assistance,
of course,
and then only exploit the situation.
So all these people, we try to take care of them adequately. Some of them we even draw the sympathy of people that are working at that place. So we don't allow all these things at all. And we ensure that whatever that happens there, it is not only those people there that are taking note. In addition, some of our officers, they are there not just for controlling the crowd, but they also take note of what is happening from time to time. Apart from that, there are some immediately they get to that place, you see, the attention is being focused on the the actual center of attraction. But you now discover that around the place, within the environment, within the vicinity, there are some people who might fall by the wayside or something, we split over to that place. So we try to comb and search inside the bush area or the environment to ensure that anybody that is needing any help, you understand,
just a good,
of course, will be attended
quick
to.
response.
Yes.
That's one area that we make curious, and that's the human side of it. You must have had experience, comrade, of getting to disaster spots. What do you really tend to see that the negative behavior of people that you come up against?
Yeah. You want me to tell you one or two experience for that one? Of course. I will just mention that one. There was when there was a fire, flood at Ogun River here.
Yes.
Could you believe that after all this road safety, SNSDCC cleared the road or something like that, we went there just to rescue those people out? Could you believe that some of the occupants there said, "Don't you know we have been living here for many years? Can't you leave us here?" I said, "You mean this one? But this is our own duty." They have just people are that they have been adamant, even they will even frustrate your effort or something like that. We have such experiences, but I'm very happy because I don't want to do some advertisements here. Yes, I will not do. Yes, I will not do.
No, you pay if you do.
But let me just do little. But that little is very good. I love the contribution of my discussant, the road safety and the civil defense. They said they have their ambulances here, ambulances there, ambulances there. You believe that they are government officials.
Okay.
Nobody for them. But Red Cross is a voluntary organization. No. We need help. We need more of these ambulances. As far as Ogun State is concerned, we don't have a single ambulance. So if there's any call, we have to use our personal vehicle just to get to that place.
That's why we are voluntary. We make some sacrifice. Don't let us go there. But let's look at the issue of this issue of the human side of it. And that's especially, Florence, when you get to crash site, which has become almost a kind of disaster, what are those human emotions that you think we are wrongly expressing, and how best do you think we should have managed such human emotions?
So there is something I just want to talk on.
Please do.
When the crash happened, the passerby, other road users, instead of them to think of safety first, the next thing, especially with this social media of a thing, they will just begin to carry their phone and be snapping so that they will begin to post them on air. The first thing they were supposed to think of is rescue. Rescue is important, and that is why we've been emphasizing that safety is not just for road safety. It's a general thing. Everybody should be safety conscious. You need to have this thing in you, that even when you are moving, even in your house, you have to be safety conscious, because you don't know when it will happen. This crowd, that's what, like I said before, crowd management. The moment we get to an accident scene, the first thing we do, we cone the area, that is so that others will not run into it. Then we think on how to manage, we strategize, think on how to manage the crowd, because all these passerby, they begin to have pity. This one is dead, this one is this, and that is what we don't want them to know. Even a dying person, you keep on encouraging him, telling him, you are fine, you are okay, so that's because some of them die out of shock. Even when the injury is not much, because of the shock and what people say. So that's why we manage the crowd. We don't let them get close to where the accident victims are until when they have been removed from that area. So crowd management is very important, and we do that. We strategize so that we will have our victims well positioned.
Well, Karim, I'm going to really put you on this time. You are wearing two caps. Of course, the one on your head is that of the NSDC, but the other one you are not wearing, which people do, is also that of a public relations expert. And at that point, we require the management of information. I don't really know whether you have encountered it, whether you have experienced it, but usually there are two sides to any disaster, whether it is crash, whether it is the flood, and so first the victims, who are helpless, and then those who are not even at the scene, There could be family members, there could be community members who usually are also agitated by what is already happening. How, from the population's perspective, how do you begin to manage sensitive information at that point? Have you encountered any experience, or have you seen any situation in which we have wrongly, being honest, wrongly managed information at that point of a disaster management?
First of all, I appreciate you for that question, because information management at the scene of disaster is very, very important. You know, talking of information itself, communication itself, communication with the members of the public, very important, and it has to be handled with care. Okay. So when you are looking at it, it must be strategic in a situation whereby it will bring about a kind of harmony, peace. You understand? Bringing about a kind of mutual beneficial relationship between members of the public and where the people, the organization that is passing that information. The issue is this: when you look at information management at the scene of incident, there are something that need to be said, and there are something that you don't need to talk about at all. One, to be able to save life. Two, to be able to allow you to carry out your duty as expected. Sometimes you discover that members of the public, they react to information negatively in such a way that they will begin to attack those who are in charge of that rescue operation. And I think this has happened on so many occasions. There was one that happened at Ogiri, which I can give as an example. I think that was about 3 years ago, concerning the issue of pipeline vandalism. The pipeline caught fire, and you know, it affected a lot of people, farms, and some farmers were also involved. You understand? Some children, even some houses were also burned. However, we got to that place initially. Having seen us, those area boys, they gave the information that we have come to arrest some people, whereas they really did not know what was happening right inside that village that is very close to pipeline. You understand? So we concentrated on what we were doing when we discovered that some people attacked us right from behind. You discover that it's not as if those people actually came to attack us in the first place, but because of the information that was given to them, so it was misgiven.
The wrong information. And then they also reacted on the basis of...
They acted on it and carried out the attack. You understand? So we were not able to concentrate on what we were there for in the first place. So that is why the thing now continued to spread until we had reinforcement from Abeokuta, another organization. They joined us. We were able to quench the fire together with the NNPC.
So who really should be, when we have disaster like this, or which agency really should just quickly seize up the opportunity to manage the information?
Yes.
Which agency?
You see, we have a sample abandoned around us, even in Ogun State here. For example, at this area, Ijayi, before the construction of this road by this present government in Ogun State. So that place is a kind of dangerous place, especially whenever it is raining. So, and Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, especially when the rainy season is approaching, so we do normally collate all those disaster-prone areas and write to the government so that they will be able to take action. However, where I'm going is this: when that flood, it was raining then, and there was flood. So a lot of houses were demolished by this, by water, and many people. In fact, there are so many people that are victims. However, we did not raise unnecessary alarm.
Okay.
What we did immediately was to send information to people that they should not, when you are the motorists especially, that when they are coming, people going to Shakpan and other ASICs, they should take another route, and they should not make use of this Ijai road. One thing is this, one thing is blocking the road, and the other one is actually letting people be aware. Otherwise, there could be a kind of commotion in trying to turning back motorists to where they are coming back or to other route. Then apart from that, we ensure the information get to the to government, and they responded immediately. They brought in some tools which help us in rescuing those people who have been drawn by this flood, and some people were actually still in their houses. We brought them out safely without problem. So had it been this information was not passed to the appropriate quarters, sincerely speaking, it will have caused more damage. However, in the situation like this, the agency that are actually supposed to manage information and coordinate the whole affair at the scene should be the state emergency
management agency. Absolutely, that we have said that is the core agency whose responsibility is to coordinate other stakeholders. But beautiful. Well, comrade, we have to be fast. All of us, we need to make contribution to this. First, we have seen that at least we can say that we are managing the situation we have. How do we improve disaster management?
We improve disaster.
Quickly, how do we manage?
We quickly do that one by having regular meeting with the stakeholders, because the stakeholders have to be meeting together. You know, you are talking about information here or something like that. It may be the civil defense that got to the scene earlier than Red Cross or earlier than road safety. That information should get passed to all the stakeholders.
So there should be information sharing.
Information sharing, yes. There should be information sharing, because the first person with the first stakeholder that get to that place has to get other involved.
Okay.
And get to that place.
Well,
it's after all this security rescue, this something like that, all the victims are now being brought to the Red Cross.
Okay. So, Larry, where do we strengthen the institutional capacities of organizations? How do we strengthen them to be able to improve better?
Yes, it is important for the government to strengthen organizations who have one or two things to do with disaster management, with preparedness. There should be 24/7 preparedness, and apart from that, each of them should have helpline, so that permanent helpline is not only when disaster happen, so that anytime anybody, even general public, see a kind of things that is happening anywhere, they could call on any of the organization and they will respond accordingly. Then apart from that, in terms of logistic, I think of course they should be able to.
I want Florence also to contribute to this. Of course, you already talked about having your own 122, which is a line that is also functioning.
Yes, sir.
But beyond that, how do you make this kind of management people friendly? How do we see people in uniform? How do we make you to say that, look, we are working for you? We are also so. How do we make some of the efforts we are making people friendly?
By constant communication to the general public, awareness, and engagement, especially the transport union, the one that are really involved in it, stakeholders, and also meet with the NGO that can come to our aid by helping us to carry out this safety campaign on children and other things. Just awareness. We want them to know that we are just we're human beings. You have to serve them. So they should just cooperate with us so that we can carry out what is expected. Let's do it diligently. We are human beings like them. They should not see us like what they was when they say road safety down the road. We are not wicked. We just want them to. We are not. We are not. We just want them to know that we are just after their safety. Because safety is important. We want them to be alive. We want them to have an attitudinal change towards driving. We want them to have a good driving culture. That is just it.
Our culture must also change, both at the individual level as well as the corporate level. Of course, that's the only way for society to make progress, when we begin to see ourselves as contributing to collective development. Let me just thank the three sons, first starting with Florence. Thank you, Florence, for coming to the program for the second week. Alan, again, it's your program, because you never can do without you, both in Pro-Relations and as SDC man. It's a pleasure to have you.
You're welcome, sir.
And comrade, well, I hope when summer we'll get to smile because this bill will eventually see the light of day. One way or the other, we'll make progress with it. Thank you, comrade, for making.
Thank you.
This is the way it is going to be. It has been 2 weeks of conversation on the subject of disaster management and public relations. We didn't exhaust it all, but the key issue is that there is an outstanding bill which can help, which can really quicken, which can also solidify the way we are managing disaster in the state. I hope the appropriate authorities will quicken action on this bill and then give us a new kind of frontiers to work on. This is the way it is going to be. Next week, we'll pick another topic and try to look at the PR implications of that topic. Thank you for watching, and see you next week.